the Saudi economy has really started to diversify and develop very strong. Key challenge, of course, is when you have water that has been treated, because when you have that water and you need to transport it over 80 kilometers, then a lot of bacteria growth.
Hello, it's another podcast. We have Sam with us from Ecolab. Thank you so much for joining. I know you are very, very busy, and it's a very busy day in the conference. I would like to ask you to, first introduce yourself, and thank you again for your time.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sam. I'm responsible at Ecolab for what we call global markets. Mm-hmm. So that's all the geographies outside of North America. We're operated in many different divisions, 14, 15 global divisions. And maybe we'll get to that a little bit later, but those are all in every market present, and I oversee those markets. I'm with the company for 17 years. Wow. Before that, I was with Unilever for another 16 years. I'm born in the Netherlands, a country where water management has been very important for other reasons, I would say, and live currently in Switzerland, where from there out I support the markets around the world.
We were, it's a bit off topic, but we were very impressed in Netherlands. Their non-revenue water is around 2-3%, and we were really impressed with their water structure.
Yeah,
it's an amazing country to be in.
Yeah.
For
I think
water.
Blessed, of course, by sort of the geological setup, but clearly, but of course, the other part of the water is. About 1/3 of the country is under sea level, and that's why we always need to work on.
It also helps to have a clay type soil, so the leakage is very much more restricted. I wanted to ask you your activities in the kingdom. So what are you doing, especially on the innovation side? Of course, you are a big company, commercial company, but we are more interested on the innovation side. What are your activities in the kingdom?
Great. So Ecolab is a company that is 102 years young, as we'd like to say, and we are already in the kingdom for 45 years. So a long period of time. Actually, Saudi Aramco was our first customer, and that relationship is continuing, has grown for many years, but also customers like Sabic, Ma'aden. And of course, as the Saudi economy has really started to diversify and develop very strong in food production, beverage production, hospitality, tourism. Now, of course, in data centers, all those parts provide fantastic opportunities, let's say, to help the customers in the kingdom. In every division, we constantly work on innovation to make sure that we further advance our solutions, that we further help customers. And so the range, let's say, is very broad. But if I take, let's say, maybe a few, ultra pure water for microelectronics production and for life sciences industry is something that we have put a lot of focus on. We see the microelectronics industry developing, of course, and that is going to be, let's say, a big growth driver. It is already a growth driver, but going to be further. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that later. Data centers, an important part. The power, let's say, to drive all the AI, let's say, possibilities is of course needed to be stored in data centers and driven by data centers. So how do we make sure that we manage the challenges for natural resources in data centers, and we have some very exciting innovative solutions for that. And then I'd say maybe closer to sort of our older industries, newer technologies for disinfection is one thing that we've brought. We are always working to help digital insights. So we traditionally, we said we have chemical solutions, we have equipment that doses the chemical in the application, and then we have our expertise and our service people that make sure that everything goes well.
Works together.
With, of course, the opportunity in digital, we are collecting so much data, and that data is like a flywheel, so you can bring more and more out. And maybe as an overarching sort of introduction on Ecolab, because we're in many different industries, people say, well, what do you do exactly? But we try to always summarize it as we help our customers producing a better product for themselves, a better outcome, whether that is a great guest experience in a hotel, whether that is a uptime guarantee in a data center, whether that is a food safe and a high quality beverage, whether that is a high quality tissue paper experience that feels soft. So that's the outcome. And we do that in the most efficient way. So we always look at, can we shorten a cleaning time? Can we shorten maybe a treatment cycle? Can we do this where the assets that you use to produce, that we extend the lifetime? Mm-hmm. And then the last part, we do this with care for the environment. So we're always working to reduce water and reduce energy because they are very much intertwined.
So from a more traditional production company to more technical support or technology company, so know-how company. So that's kind of a, I think general trend in the market as well, because everyone can produce some kind of product, but the most important thing is how we optimize that product,
Correct.
how we support the customer,
Correct,
and how we can, get them to utilize the best of their all,
And because we are organized in 15 different divisions, so let's say the downstream is one division, mining is one division, hospitality is one division, high tech is one division, and therefore we have people employed in each of these divisions that only go to those customers. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to really understand what are the key specific challenges in those industries and come with the best solution. So like you say, indeed, we used to be maybe a chemical company, but we have really over the last years already really become much more an outcomes-based company.
So I would like to ask you about more specific about what you are doing in the kingdom. I know you're working closely with Saudi Irrigation Organization.
Yeah.
Could you briefly explain the concept or the idea you're working on, and what are the expectations from this project or collaboration?
Yeah, so thanks for that opportunity. So a key challenge, of course, is when you have water that has been treated, to make sure that you have the last step of killing the bacteria, because when you have that water and you need to transport it over 80 kilometers, let's say for irrigation purposes, then a lot of bacteria growth can happen, algae growth, biofilms, let's say with inefficiencies, let's say in the system, but also then possibly with undesired impact for the crop that you try to grow, because when you have a lot of bacteria, then of course that can get into the crop. So we have tested already 3 years ago. And we got it via the R&D arm of SWA. We got an approval for proving the impact of our disinfectant system. We call it Purate.
Okay.
It's an advanced chlorine dioxide generator, and the benefits of that is that the impact. The microbiome impact is very strong, is very robust as well. So in different pH environments, in different temperatures, so it provides a very good outcome. It provides as well a very long-lasting impact, and it doesn't have the negative residues that you normally have, let's say, with sodium hypochlorite. And that
so brings less disinfection byproducts and more stable.
More stable. And then of course, when you use sodium hypochlorite, if something goes wrong, you have chlorine gas. That is not possible with this chlorine dioxide generator, and that is let's say another additional benefit. We've tested that. We are using this already in other industries. So in that sense, it's a little bit sort of a serendipitous opportunity. And we have more recently in the East Coast done one pilot where a generator was bought and placed, and we have now I think about 6 weeks, 7 weeks of results. And when I was the day before in Daman, we reviewed all the results, and it's very impressive to see that going. And I think this can be really a step change in the quality. So the quantity of water is, of course, a key issue in the kingdom, but quality of water is as well, of course, really important, especially when we talk about wastewater. So we hope that we can really contribute with, let's say, the quality, the quantity, but also the quality of the wastewater, especially for irrigation.
There's a big ambition in the kingdom about using 80-90% of wastewater recycled. And, of course, irrigation is one of the biggest receivers of this wastewater. Finally, I want to ask you, about what do you think? Because AI and data centers, we definitely need them. It's obvious that there's a huge, need for data centers to support AI, to only just, go through the day-to-day lives. But we all know these require like a huge amount of water. Of course, they don't consume the water, they use the water. There's a big chance to recycle, but it's still a big problem. So what do you think, and what kind of solutions that you can offer, and what is your view about this?
So of course, this is such a fast growing industry that innovation is as well is coming quickly, because there are many parties that are attracted to this industry. You're absolutely right. AI requires a tremendous amount of compute power, and I said earlier in the main address, AI is projected to use as much power as the country of India uses, and as much water that the US is using. So it is amazing, of course, to think about these. So when we then specifically focus on data centers, traditionally data centers were computers in a big room, and air conditioning was at maximum, and then you were treating the cooling towers for the air conditioning. With the increased compute power, the energy and the heat increases consistently. The risk, of course, of overheating translates into downtime, and then, of course, you have the customers of the data centers in trouble. So more and more advanced solutions have been found. The latest that we have seen now, I'd say it's probably 6 months, sort of really. So it's still relatively new. Is what they call direct-to-chip cooling. So instead of, let's say, the big stacks in a cold room, now they put cleaning in place, or let's say closed loop systems, like you have a radiator, or like you have let's say a CIP system that is built on the chip, where coolant is going through, and because it's a closed loop system. Of course, you don't have the losses of that. You
still have a refrigeration cycle in thermodynamics.
Exactly.
You maximize the efficiency.
Exactly.
By keeping it close.
Exactly. And then there is the constant need to have the right balance between how much energy do you put into that versus, let's say, the uptime, the temperature and the uptime guarantee. Data centers can use up to 40% of all their power for cooling. So only 60% of the electricity goes into the compute power itself, which of course is a cost issue, but it's also a sustainability issue. So direct to chip is going to be a fantastic opportunity. It is of course not a solution so easily available for all the existing data centers. So that will, of course, take some time to grow out of that. But it's very attractive. We do this now with a couple of large customers. Microsoft, which of course is the biggest hyperscaler, and then Digital Realty is the biggest co-location company, and we are supplying them and having partnerships with them on this direct-to-chip cooling, and we are helping, actually writing a white paper for the Ministry of Communications and IT here in Saudi to help them describe.
We have a big investment in Humane. You probably heard the AI.
Exactly. So we hope to contribute to that and show what we know there.
Would you like to add anything before we close?
Maybe the last thing that we mentioned.
If I forgot anything.
Maybe the last thing that we talked briefly about was this ultra pure water.
Yes.
So ultra pure water, and you indicated, hey, so what would that maybe be for the kingdom. So as the kingdom diversifies its economy, especially I would say the higher tech industries require more and more ultra pure water. So in pharmaceutical manufacturing, but I'd say especially in microelectronics manufacturing, you use a lot of ultra pure water. Now, ultra pure water is not one, let's say, level. There are higher levels of grade, and let's say the water that you use for ultra pure for microelectronics is the highest level of qualification. The downside is that to create ultra pure water, you need to use a lot of raw water, which of course is an issue. The only way that you can get through that is if you get into a good recycling system on ultra pure water. We have just announced an acquisition into ultra pure water, which is going to be exciting, both in life sciences and in the microelectronics production. So that's going to be an interesting part. We hope as well to contribute the kingdom to the kingdom.
I think it's important for the kingdom because kingdom traditionally is like an oil-based economy, but now diversifying is not only like a regular product. We need value-added product, and the ultra pure water comes into value-added products, pharmaceuticals, chips, and others, parts.
No, so and maybe the last, I think bringing here so many parties together, I think, is a fantastic recipe for advancement. I think the best comes out when companies, customers, government work together to advance progress, and I think that's what I think the kingdom is really doing.
Diversity
very
works in all places.
Totally, very much.
Thank you so much, Sam, for your time, and I hope you have a great visit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.